Okay, so good morning, guys. Blessed Saturday once again. This is just but a continuation of our virtual class last time. This time I will be recording the discussion on the rest of the slides, which we were not able to cover last meeting. So before we do that, let us take a look first and to some of the key points we have discussed last time. So we are still on Freud's psychoanalytic theory. So if you recall, we tried looking into the background of Simon Freud. Okay, so we mentioned about um, some information pertaining to his biography and some information in particular concerning his experiences, which might have led to some of the concepts he espoused in his psychoanalytic theory. Okay, so we also touched on the structures of personality, specifically the ego, and the superego, and the dynamics of these three structures contributing to who we are as individuals. Part of what we have discussed is on the levels of awareness, to which he highlighted the role of the unconscious in personality development. Okay, although, of course, we also have the other two levels, the consciousness and the preconscious. Okay, and part of the concepts that he also uh, advocated, or that what that would also form part of his theory, would be catexis, anti-catexis, eros, and thanatos. And then towards the end of the slide, you could see some of the methods that he made use, particularly free association, dream analysis, and psychoanalysis. Okay, and part of what we also have touched last time is on the defense mechanisms. Okay, so I had received some of your responses already on the tasks that I had given you, particularly along the defense mechanisms. So I'll be uh, I will tawag dyan, await, for the other outputs, from you. Okay? So, uh, and this time, this is what we will be talking about, on the psychosexual stages of development. So if you recall, one of the things that I mentioned last time is that it is Freud who appeared to be one of the pioneers, of the developmental stages. I mean, what he has, in terms of theory, is one that is a stage theory. So in particular, to personality development. Okay, so I know that some, if not all of you, are familiar to these stages. So this actually include 5 stages. So we start from the oral down to the latency. Oral phallic, uh, ah, oral phallic, down to genital. Oral, anal, phallic, latency, and then genital. So if we look into these stages, um, uh, Freud's theory, being highly sexist, would always refer to parts of the body, which appear to be zones of pleasure or satisfaction. So this actually is termed as erogenous zones. Okay. Um, so what we will be looking specifically would be on um, aspects, of these stages, which are contributory to our characteristics, our distinct characteristics as individuals. Okay. So we will be looking into these stages, and then um, um, we will also delve on the implications, of these stages in terms of personality development. Okay, so since this is a stage theory, okay, particularly um, zeroing in on the psychosexual stages, Freud's concept or contention is that the foundational years, no? So the first, I mean, um, those that had taken place even from the moment we are born, no? Or even prior that, no? Are deemed significant or deemed contributory to our characteristics as individuals, no? Um, so uh, perhaps it has to do with um, whether or not we are orally fixated, no? We will be looking into the concepts anyway as we discuss the slides. Okay, so we have the oral stage. This actually takes place from the moment the baby is born up to his or her 18 months of um, life. No? So, postnatal stage down to babyhood. So, because if you refer unto the developmental stages, no, we are inside the womb for 9 months. After that, we are born. The first 2 weeks would be called infancy. From 2 weeks to 2 years would be babyhood. So this would cover the first 18 months from birth. And practically, it's the babyhood stage. Okay. So what is the source of pleasure for a baby or for an infant? Okay. If you look into developmental psychology, um, the very characteristic typical to infants or babies is that um, because they are in the state of adaptation or adjustment. No? Remember, from an internal environment to an external one, no, there are numerous adjustments that the infant has to undergo or has to experience. But definitely, one of this would be um, his or her, what do you call this? um, that it is the start of where the infant would make use of his body parts, no? In particular during the stage of his or her mouth, no, as a mode of nourishment, no? Because inside the womb the mode of nourishment is through the umbilical cord. Okay, so the focus of the libido, if you recall, we made mention about libidinal energy, no? So the focus of pleasure is on the mouth, the tongue, and the lips. Okay, there are what we call um, reflexes. I'm sure this is not new to you, no? The concept of reflex. So a baby, a newly born, for instance, um, did not in any way learn how is it to open his or her mouth and um, suck the nipple of the feeding bottle or of the mother. No? But since the baby is actually capable of learning, no, and as a manifestation thereof, they have what we call reflexes. No, reflexes are unlearned responses. Nobody has taught the baby, but the baby is just capable of doing it. No, like we have sucking reflex. No, okay. So pleasure is centered on the mouth. No? Uh, Activities like sucking, biting, and chewing, no, are actually very prominent. No, um, what do you call this? It seems that it's just but the world of babies or infants. No, um, being fed, no, through the mouth and sleep. No? having sleep. So you might have noticed that, or you might have observed that among newly born. Okay? Kung di sila tulog ng tulog ay talagang um, they are um, being fed. Now, the question as to what happens if there is overfeeding or underfeeding, no? So, the the psychosexual development is telling us that there can be instances of fixations. No? So, what is fixation? No? So, when there is over or under gratification, no, as to these stages. Okay? So when we talk of oral stage, when there is overfeeding or underfeeding, that may lead to a particular um, personality tendency. No? So, in fact, if we look into the fixations on the oral stage, no, there is what we call oral receptive and oral aggressive. So if there is underfeeding, then or if you are fixated, there can be experiences of being overfed or underfed, and the resulting characteristic would be um, these behaviors, no, being orally receptive and orally aggressive. Okay, so since kulang kasi underfed since kulang, ang tendency is that you might have been reared in a way that because of the lack of, no, later on unconsciously, no, you strive for this something that you lack about, no, and unconsciously you may end up being orally fixated, and hence you could manifest characteristics of being orally receptive. That is, you may venture into vices like smoking, drinking alcohol, overeating as a compensatory uh, um, as a compensatory mechanism, no, to what you have experienced during these early stages, no, of which you had been underfed or overfed, no? So nasanay kayo halimbawa na maraming ini-intake. Paano ba nangyayari 'yon? During feeding time, no? Remember during babyhood stage, no? As to how responsive are our parents, or especially our mothers, no? Because it's the mother who takes charge in nursing the newly born, no? How responsive is our mother in feeding us, no? So at this stage, it's not only the amount, no, the quantity of what is given to us in terms of milk, for example, no, but it's also the kind of relationship, no, kasi remember that it's only during feeding that the mother gets to connect with the baby, no? So if you happen to read some literatures, no, on how is it to uh, rear and nourish psychologically, emotionally healthy baby, no, or children or child, no. So it has to do with the bond, no, the attachment that is formed or established, no, during the early years, no. So in terms of feeding time, or in terms of feeding experiences, is the mother responsive, no? So lahat daw ng sobra at ng kulang ay hindi tama. Kasi kapag kulang, ang tendency ay maghahanap ka. Kapag sobra, ganun pa rin, maghahanap ka pa rin kasi nakasanayan mo nga, no? So anything that is over and under leads to fixation. Okay? And fixations, no, though um, hindi siguro natin ito makokontrol. Hindi ba natin makokontrol? Siyempre, kasi if you are a mother, no, you would want to feed your baby, no? But you may not be so cautious, or you may not be so aware of uh, the thing that you were actually overfeeding the child, no? So kapag hindi ka naman responsive, hindi agad-agad, no? Siguro kasi you are preoccupied of doing household chores, and because you wanted to finish first, halimbawa, yung paglalaba, or whatever chores or tasks you're doing before attending to your child, you are unconscious or unaware na you are now underfeeding your baby. Okay? So either way, it leads to fixation. Okay? So, what are some of the uh, characteristics or implications should there be fixation in the oral stage, no? So we have, I think I have mentioned this, being orally receptive would lead to vices, or practices which would refer, or which would be a typical characteristic of one who is uh, overly indulging, no? Overindulgence. Okay? So, smoking, alcoholism, and overeating. Okay? As to oral aggression, yung mga ano natin, mga, ano bang tawag doon? Yung unconsciously, we do nail biting. No, nail biting. Or we do nail biting, we do, what do you call that? We do, these are, ano bang term mo doon? Yung unconsciously nagne-nail bite ka. I could hardly tell the term, but it's on the tip of my mind. No? So, drug addiction, difficulty in trusting others, although this could be in relation to the psychosocial stage, no? Trust versus mistrust ni Eric Erikson. Okay? So, siguro, ano natin to? So, having a tendency to bite your nails, to gossip, no? Kasi it's a satisfaction of the mouth. Okay? So, ayan. These are, um, to some extent, no, destructive behaviors, no, which is typical to overindulgence. Okay? So, bakit? Kasi yun nga, nakasanayan dahil sobra, no, during the feeding years, no, um, uh, which is critical, no, actually to the development of these ages. Okay? So, another would be the anal stage. What about anal stage? So this is from 18 months to 3 years. So early childhood, the early period in the early childhood stage. No? So what is the distinct task, no, that must be um, taught, or to which you should indoctrinate your child, no? So it has to do with toilet training. Okay? So the pleasure is focused on bowel and bladder. Okay? So toilet training, no, is the very task that has to be taught, no, to the child. No? So recall the time that you toilet train your children, if you have children, or perhaps you do a recollection of this, no, by asking your parents if they are still alive, as to how you were toilet trained. But I think if we look into the kind of person that we are now, no, perhaps we could draw inference from that as to how we were toilet trained. Okay? So in toilet training, we have what we call anal retentive and anal expulsive behaviors. No? So um, if your parents was very rigid, if your mother was very rigid in toilet training, meaning to say that you are not allowed to defecate anywhere, no, except the except in the toilet, no? So um ang tendency is what will be imbibed to you are anal retentive behaviors, no? So tip-tip pilampay lang kung naniinang mo ken ka, ahang ka nga balin nga tumakki, uray ayan na, no? No diket jay CR lang. So no makataktakki kan haan nga mabalin nga tumakki ka lang, uray ayan na tanga ay nga kayat mga pagtakyan no diket jay CR lang kung naniinang mo. So, ang may imbibe ay that there's a proper place for everything. No? And hence, when you grow up, uh, you would also there's a tendency that you would also what show the same rigidity, no? So there is an obsession with cleanliness, with perfection, and with control. No? So ito yung mga tao na masyadong cozy, malinis, no? Um, gusto nila yung kanilang mga damit ay nasa ayos. Okay? So siguro meron yung mga masyadong OA na pati yung kulay ay dapat nakaayos din. So hindi ko alam kung meron kayong mga kakilalang ganon o kung nakikita nyo ang mga ganong katangian sa inyong mga sarili. No? But you cannot work in a messy environment. Okay? And in terms of rules, for you, black is black. There can be no gray areas. There can be no white area. It's only black. So para bang hindi ka mabend, hindi ka siguro kung titingnan natin ang medyo disadvantage niya ay hindi ka naging flexible. Hindi mo kayang magpaka-flexible kasi nasanay ka na a rule is a rule, no? And there's no other way but to obey. No? So, that is what it meant by being anal retentive. No? We see ourselves very compliant, near to perfection, if not perfect. No? Um, in terms of control, we are uh, we don't bend to impulsivity. We always would have a high self-control, no? We could hardly be tempted. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, no, we stick by the book or by the rules. Okay? So um, on the other hand, the opposite is anal expulsive. Okay? So what it meant by anal expulsive, if in the toilet training, masyado namang madali kayong, alam nyo yon yung your mother or your parents no would allow you to do the thing uh, right there and then, irrespective of the place. So you were toilet trained in a way na, sige, sige anak, okay lang kahit saan ka tumae, no? Oh. So, ah, ituret mo la kanyanin kung nakaitawit, no? Ako pang kusangaw kung na yung mother mo, no? So, what do you mean by that? You could just defecate anywhere. I will just clean your mess later, no? So, yan yung, sino sa inyo yung noong bata ay our toilet is everywhere, no? 'Di ba meron ngang patalastas noon? O sa bukid, walang papel, kunana niya. Tapos tawag diyan, you could the thing there is that you could just do your thing, particularly defecating um anywhere, no? So, uh, ano yung pinaka-goal kasi diyan, that you release. Kasi there's tension when you're not able to release, for example, or when you could not defecate when it's time for you to defecate, no? So, um, what is imbibed in the child later, or the implication of this to the personality characteristic of the child is that he may he may likely to be anal expulsive, no? Or he may manifest anal expulsive behaviors. So, ang tendency ay dahil okay lang naman pala na dito ako tumae, then dito ako tatae, no? So, the kind of person that you are is that you may end up having the thought that it's okay to be messy or to be disorganized. No, so because this is the way for you to, parang ito yung normal para sa iyo, no? So ayan yung, it's either you be overly perfectionist or uh, messy, no? So, yung obsessive compulsive behavior natin, nandun yun sa anal retentive. Sa anal expansive naman, you tend to be messy or disorganized, no? But you, on the contrary, you could also be very flexible. Pwede kang mag-bend. Ano yon? So, kapag sinabi mong black, pwedeng gray yun. Pwedeng white yun. No? Bakit? Kasi you would also give in for the comfort of others. Parang ganun yun eh, no? So, when it comes to siguro compliance, um, tendencies are, um, you may not be so, you may not be so, tawag dyan, you may not be so obsessed to perfection. That is, you may accept the fact, no, that well, ganun talaga, hindi, may mga instances na we could bend the rule, no? There are always exceptions, no, to compliance with rules, no? So ayan, for anal retentive, for anal expulsive individuals. Meron pa eh, yung pagiging stingy daw, attributed daw yun sa anal retentive, no? Hindi ka madaling magbigay. Okay? Being stingy, no? On the opposite, tendency to be very generous daw is for for those with anal expulsive behaviors. Okay? Now, what else? Phallic stage, no? So, ang phallic stage ay again continuity ng um, tawag dito, early childhood years. Okay? So, dito pumapasok yung concept ng Oedipus and Electra complex. Okay, kung naalala ninyo, no? So, what task in particular is common or is faced by a child of this stage. So, in the genital, no, you start them. Remember, siguro if we relate it to the developmental task, by Harvey Gertz, if you recall, still in developmental psychology, um, the developmental tasks of those in the early childhood stage include their learning of sex differences, learning sex modesty and sex differences. So they start to learn that they are males if they have their penis, and that they are females if they have their vagina. Now, not only about the sex organs that males and females differ. No? So, even in sex roles. So, yung tawag dyan, basic concepts in gender and development, nag start na pala dito. Kaya may tendency na dito pwedeng mag-start yung homosexuality, no? 'Pag nagkaroon na sila ng ulirat sa mga taong nasa paligid nila, when they start observing people around them as to how, uh, a as when they interact with these people, no? So as to how, no, particularly as to the manners and the behavior of people around them, no, what they observe, no, in fact, what they see, they do, no, what they hear, they say, di ba? Very observers, very observants ang mga bata na nasa edad na ito. Okay? Kaya tingnan ninyo yung attachment na nakikreate between the children of the opposite sex. Like when you're a son, your attachment to your mother, and when you're a daughter, your attachment to your father, yung father figure, father image, actually spell match, no, on um, later, no, on your sexual preference and even on your sexual relationships, no. So yung stage na 'to, ang mga experiences dito kung titingnan natin yung kay Erikson at i-relate natin dun, malaki ang influence niya sa, ah, pagdating ng bata sa adolescent years 'no, as to, the establishment of intimacy 'no. Okay, so it says awareness of the genital area 'no, as a source of pleasure. Although it would be too early, most likely you're if you talk about the genital area as the source of pleasure, it's more likely the differences, no, between males and females when it comes to genitals, no. Um, yeah, sexual identity. You see, the child learns sexual identity, no? So he get he gets to know that he is a lalaki and that she is a babae. Okay? So the development of Oedipus complex. So what's Oedipus complex? I know that again, if you're a psychology major, this is not the first time you hear the word Oedipus complex. So Freud believed that during this stage, boys develop unconscious sexual desire for their mother. So again, we go back to the kind of relationship that was established between the parents of the opposite sex to that of their children. No? So parents and children of the opposite sexes. So um, in Oedipus complex, it's the son's attachment toward his mother. Okay? So, boys see their fathers as rival, no? To their mother's affection. During this stage, there's a kind of jealousy that arises on the part of the son, seeing the father as a rival and may fear that the father would punish them. Okay, yung concept ng castration, anxiety. No? However, um, again, because this is fixation, no? So, if the son is too attached to the mother, okay, where did this Oedipus complex began in the first place? No, if we trace back the concept of Oedipus complex, it actually emerged from the experience or the story of King Oedipus. No, so in Greek mythology, no, King Oedipus being unaware, no, um, that um, whom he married, no, was actually his mother, no, and unintentionally have killed his father for the love of his mother. No? So, um, although that would be very, if we would take that as as a very literal um, explanation of the Oedipus complex, because if we look into Oedipus complex again, what we are referring unto is more of how attached is the son to the mother. That if the mother is if the son is too attached to the mother, and that the son did not in any way have established connection to a father figure, no? Tendencies are when the child reaches puberty or adolescent years, or um, during the latency stage, no? Tendencies are the child uh, would identify himself more to the mother, no? So what do we mean by that, no? So if the child is too much attached to the mother, if the son is too much attached to the mother, tendencies are he would identify himself more to a female figure. And that means that later he might end, or there is a tendency that either he would be mama's boy, o yung machismo effect, or he would be effeminate, no? So yung tendencies of being like my mother in terms of sexual preference, in terms of manners and behavior. I want to put on lipstick like my mother, to dress like my mother, and to have a sexual preference like that of my mother, no? So again, yung sexual preference ng mother syempre is a male, no? So uh, since the son identifies most himself to the female figure, um, the thought that he identifies more to the she, no? Again, parang it bridges homosexuality. Okay? Although ngayon, ang dami ng mga ano, no, ang dami ng mga race ng tawag dyan, sexuality, no? Kaya LGBTQ++ na marami ng mga types, sexuality types pang tawag doon. Okay? Okay. So, ayan. Out of fear of castration and due to strong competition of their father, boys eventually decide to identify with them rather than fight. No? So by identifying with their father, the boys develop masculine characteristics and identify themselves as males and repress their sexual feelings towards their mother. So that is yun nga yung pwedeng either uh, machismo effect yung sinasabi ko kanina, no? So although that could be an interpretation of it, that they could also identify themselves not not just to their father, but more to a female figure, and hence it may bridge homosexuality. Then, okay. The opposite, on the other hand, uh, is, ang tawag dyan, Electra complex. So, this time naman between a daughter and a father. Okay? So, although it says here that the child gets attached with the opposite sex parent, because this is the characteristic supposedly of this stage, no? So, uh, although again, no, tendencies are, yun nga, it might be that uh, what may take place is the other way around. So, the female may likely identify, yeah, because of the daughter's identification more to that of the father, the tendency is that she may develop masculine-like characteristics. And again, to the extent later that she is likely to have a sexual preference like that of his father. No? So, sexual dysfunction, o yan, dito pumapasok yan, transsexuality and homosexuality. So, this is what I am saying. No? If there is a fixation in this stage, then there could be, or it could lead to identification of the child to the to or with an opposite sex parent. So the son to a father, the son to a mother, the daughter to a father. Okay? And then yung compliance also to authority, no? So um defiance, no? Hindi ba? Nag-i-start pala yun dito sa stage na 'to. Although mas nagiging manifest siya during adolescence, no? Kasi siyempre, you could not in any way defy or not comply with a parent at your early childhood stage, because whether you like it or not, you are still personally, no, dependent, no, to your um parents, no, those whom we consider in authority, no, are our parents. Okay, so you recall your specific experiences during this stage, and perhaps we try to look into how applicable is this theory of Freud to what we have experienced. No? What else? Latency stage. No? So this is the school years, elementary school years, no? Bakit siya quiet? Actually, quiet yan, hindi quiet. Quiet stage, no? Bakit siya quiet? No? Because we are preoccupied with school tasks, okay? So instead, what we do in this stage is we come to have knowledge that apart from our family members and our neighbors, there are other members or other people in the society, no? The generalized others that we consider. Okay? And these people are those whom we socialize with. In fact, most of the time in a week. No? Kapag elementary years, nag-start ng mag-aral yung bata at nasa eskwelahan siya ilang oras, 8 oras sa isang araw. Okay? At 5 araw sa isang linggo. So most of the time, we are with our um, classmates, or if you're a teacher, you are with your students, no? So quiet stage siya again kasi nga ang preoccupation is more on school tasks. Okay? So in this stage yung competitiveness natin, no? So either uh we either we are developed in a way that we become achievers, overachievers, or underachievers, no? Basing on how we perform with our school tasks and how others around us respond to our performance, no? So remember in the latency stage, no, yung in relation to Erickson, yung industry versus inferiority, di ba? So when we are able to complete a task, um, how do people around us respond? Do they recognize us, or do they criticize or ridicule us? No? Are we recognized constructively or destructively? No? Um, well, again, it depends to the environment. No? So, ang lesson dito ay if you are teaching in the elementary, or even if you're not a teacher, if you are a parent na lang, no? Because again, as I mentioned, most of you most probably are parents, or um, planning to be parents, no? So, this stage is critical in the achievement drive. No? So either we are rearing children who become overachievers or achievers man lang, no? Or who are creative or who have the courage or autonomy to do things on their own and achieve on their own, no? Because of how we scaffold, how we give them feedbacks, how we recognize them in their little efforts, no? Or ah, we might be um we might be doing something that could lead the child be or could make the child inferior, no? Or having lack of motivation. Okay? Bakit? Eh, yun nga, ang pinaka ano natin dyan is, bottom line natin dyan is, tayo ba ay nare-recognize? Tayo ba ay nape-praise kahit papaano dun sa mga nagagawa natin? Kasi kung nare-recognize at nape-praise daw tayo in all our little efforts, ang tendencies ay what? Mas lalo na tayong nagiging industrious, nacha-challenge tayo, namomotivate tayo, pinag-iigihan natin lalo ang ating mga ginagawa. 'Di ba gano'n din naman kahit you are now in your adulthood stage, no? But it starts here in this stage, no? So, uh, you ask yourself how you are in terms of your motivation, no? Ikaw ba yung tipo ng tao na kailangan mo ng recognition, kailangan mo ng, well, it's a need actually, no? If we look back into the hierarchy of needs of Maslow, sabi natin doon, no? There is a need for us to be recognized, no? So, um, um, hindi natin din maiaalis yan. At nag-uumpisa yan. Hindi ngayon na kayo ay may work na at meron na kayong concept at understanding ng motivation at ng recognition. Nag-i-start yan as early as the school years. Okay? So that could, I think, be something to remember or to be reminded about as a teacher or as a parent. Okay? Or even if you're not on these roles, if you are part of that others, no? 'Di ba? Kasi whether we like it or not, no? We always interact. We come to in our life, we come to interact with people of this stage, no? And how do you interact with them? Kung may pamangkin kayo na may mga edad ganyan, no? So, ayan, kasama ka doon sa pwedeng maging culprit kung bakit underachiever siya or less motivated siyang tao. Ano pa? Genital stage, no? So, this is from the puberty stage, pre-adolescent years to adulthood. Okay, and on this stage, especially in puberty, because there are a lot of physical developments that are taking place in our bodies, okay, the focus would be again genital stimulation. So it's different from that of the phallic stage. No? Kasi meron ka ng ulirat na, o lalaki ako. Dito sa genital stage, lalaki ako, pero lalaki din ang gusto ko. Or babae ako, pero babae din ang gusto ko. So nagkakaroon ka na ng konsepto ng um, when you establish intimate relationships, to whom do you prefer? No? So much of what is taking place in the genital stage depend on the richness of our experience in the phallic stage. No? So as to whether there had been issues in terms of your sexuality during the phallic stage, it manifests during the genital stage. So it says here, sexual maturity and satisfactory relationship. Okay? With people around us, no, especially with the opposite sex. If what is, again, babalik tayo dun sa kung anong klase ng identity ang na-establish sa'yo during the phallic stage. Okay? So, ayan. So, preoccupations on relationships, either satisfactory or unsatisfactory, and even on your sexual capacity. No? So you have impotence, premature ejaculations. No? So anything that has to do with your capacity to bear offspring, because it is in this stage where you are now considered, or we are now considered as sexual beings. I think that's the difference between childhood and adolescence. No, in childhood we are asexual. Asexual as in one word, asexual. While in adolescence stage, or in adolescent stage or adolescence, no, we are okay, we are considered sexual beings, no? A space sexual being. An adolescent is a sexual being, no? So yung childhood, no capacity yet to bear offspring or to be impregnated unless you have had your menarche. Okay? But this capacity is instead is more common among adolescents. Okay? So, yan. Then, we move on to psychoanalysis, or we move on to the methods, no, used in this theory. No? Um, so, kung titingnan natin kung ano-anong mga konsepto ni Freud ang nakakabit sa konsepto ng personality, babalikan natin yung structures, kasi structures of personality, id, ego, superego. Babalikan din natin yung levels ng consciousness. No? Kasi nabanggit natin na ang unconscious, malaking kinalaman yan sa personality development natin. Okay? Tapos yung defense mechanisms, yan, it also has to do with our uh, personality in terms especially of um, what we do when the ego is challenged by the dynamics between the id and the superego. Okay? The ego has to resort to defense mechanisms. Yung take out point dun sa stages ay yun nga, the characteristics, no, that we observe also in terms of our personality across the stages. Okay? So, why are we, for instance, engaged into activities, no, activities that would uh, satisfy us, no? So, like vices, for instance, no? Kahit yung pagiging marites, no? Why are we overly um, uh, uh, tawag dyan? Why is there an obsession to perfectionism, for instance, no? Or why are we messy and disorganized, no? Although these are tendencies, okay? And then eventually we look into the methods. So just in case there are fixations, for example, and there are um, corresponding implications to personality, and we wanted to understand, or perhaps we wanted to understand uh, why is this person acting this way, no? Freud is offering us methods, and this include psychoanalysis, no? So psychoanalysis, if we look into literatures, are still being practiced, no, although in a very limited basis, because of the fact that it cost much, no? So, psychoanalysis is a type of therapy that aims to release repressed emotion. So, the concept of repression, I think, is part of the defense mechanisms, no? Those thoughts which are not surfacing in the consciousness because we keep repressing them and we keep pushing them back to the unconscious. Okay? And it leads to behaviors which are indicative of obsession and compulsion, indicative of what? Some destructive characteristics or behaviors, no? Or it may lead to anxiety, no? Ano ba yung mga tinry ni Freud na ano na tawag diyan, yung mga in-expound niya, hysteria, no? So those were part actually of his studies. Hysteria, ano pa ba yung mga nandun sa mga nabasa nyo, no? So anxieties. No? So in resolving conflicts and anxieties, psychoanalysis is one of the psychoanalysis is one of the techniques. Okay? So, in psychoanalysis, he made use actually of free association, dream analysis, and behavior interpretation. So, what about dream analysis? So, I don't know if you are acquainted of this concept, no, but actually this started from Freud. No, it's a primary method that he used, and it involves discussing a client's dream to discover the meaning, the true meaning and significance, and the symbolic or hidden meaning of dreams as well. Okay, so um, uh, ayan. Another is free association. It's a method uh, used to gain access yan, no? To the subconscious thoughts and feelings. And in this method, the therapist would say a word and ask the client to respond quickly with the first thing that comes to his mind. So it also would bring about the dynamics that you have in terms of your relationship with people around you, the experiences that you have with these people that we interact with. No? So parang ano lang yan, parang you are um, given a word, no? And then what you say about the word are being interpreted and um ayan, so parang usually kasi when we respond and our responses are being evaluated, no? Ano ba yung tendency? Although syempre merong ano yan, merong um way of doing it, no? Kasi usually 'di ba, yun nga, sabi nga nila when uh, when we respond to a question and na-try niyo na bang mag-personality test, no? Usually ang sinasabi ng mga ano diyan, ng mga examiners, no, is that the first thing that comes into your mind, no? So like when you do sentence completion, for example, kasi hindi mo na kailangang mag-overthink pa kasi ang tendency is nag-intellectualize ka na pag ganun, no? So the first thing that comes into your mind, usually it's the most important, no? So kasi hindi ka na syempre nagra-rationalize if ever. You are given limited time and I mean the first thing that really comes out of your mind would be indicative of your concerns at that moment, no? So yan, free association. As to how you do it, no, there are a lot of videos online, no, that could somewhat um, give us the idea of how to do it. Okay, so um, perhaps that could be one way to substantiate, no, our lecture. Okay, so perhaps I could look into some and then send the link to your GC. So this is the application task that I had given you. I guess this is where it ends now. Now, in case you have questions, again, I think I made emphasis that should there be questions, we could make use of your GC as our platform to discuss the questions. And um, in the same manner, if you have some queries to your task. So again, that's it. Thank you. I hope you would reach this part of the video. It means to say that you finished and you were able to actually listen to the discussion. So thank you and have a great day ahead.